August the 21st, 2025. So I decided today to keep moving forward in Daniel. Chapter 8 is hard for me. It is. It's hard because it's a dream, it's a vision, it's pictures, it's things that don't make sense to us in this current modern time. And nobody really taught us how to interpret visions, in the church. But I will say this about Daniel. He was a captive from Judah of royal seed that never really got to experience the full deliverance from Babylon and Persia. He was an interpreter of dreams. He was a governor in Babylon. He was a governor in Persia. He lived a very long, quality life, but he was not somebody that rebuilt the walls like Nehemiah, Ezra, and those folks. He was a facilitator. He was a door opener. And he was the guy that God gave the revelation to for the whole entire expanse of human history. Remember, he's about 500s, in the 500s before Christ. So the stuff he's talking about in chapter 8 haven't happened yet. He's in the third reign, and I was wrong yesterday when I said Belshazzar reigned for 2 years. It was short, but it was a little longer than that. So he has a vision in chapter 7 in the first year of Belshazzar, and he has a vision that God gives him in the third year. And it's going to be about the next kingdom. It's specific to what's coming after Belshazzar. And then it jumps to the end. And again, when you get into these words and these pictures that God describes through the prophet, you have to realize that we live on an earth underneath the throne. It doesn't spin, it's not a ball, because the directions don't make sense, the images don't make sense. And one other thing that hit me this morning, when God says in Psalm 103 that he separates our sins from us as far as the east is from the west, technically when you're on this idea of a ball, east and west meet on the back end. But when you're on the actual surface of the earth, east and west will never meet. So I don't want my sins accounted to me because they meet on the back end. I want my sins separated from me as far as the east is from the west. Are you with me? Here we go. Daniel chapter 8. In the third year of the reign of King Belshazzar, a vision appeared to me, Daniel, after the one that appeared to me the first time. So that was the one we read yesterday in chapter 7, the first year. So it was like let's just say it was a 2-year time frame between the first vision and this vision. I saw in the vision, and it so happened while I was looking, I was in Shushan, the citadel, which is in the province of Elam. And I saw in the vision that I was by the river Ulai. Then I lifted up my eyes and saw, and there standing beside the river was a ram, which had 2 horns. And the 2 horns were high, but one was higher than the other. And the higher one came up last. I saw the ram pushing westward, northward, and southward, so that no animal could withstand him, nor was there any that could deliver from his hand. But he did according to his will and became great. And I was considering, suddenly a male goat came from the west across the surface of the earth. You see the imagery there? Straight across the surface of the earth. across the surface of the whole earth. You can't do that on a ball. It's across the whole surface coming from who knows how far west, but flying across from the west across the face of the whole earth. That's important. Without touching the ground. And the goat had a notable horn between his eyes. So envision that. Not on its head, but right here. Kind of idea of nothing but fierceness. Just, I'm going to pierce you. I'm coming at you. No mercy. That's the idea of this goat. Then he came to the ram that had the two horns, which had been standing beside the river, and ran at him with furious power. And I saw him confronting the ram. He was moved with rage against him, attacked the ram, and broke his two horns. These horns represent power and authority. So when we looked yesterday at the 10 horns, remember, the first three were eliminated. This little horn rose up. Those horns represent kingly thrones over nations, over territories, over earth, over parts of the earth, okay? So this is physical. This isn't spiritual. This is physical. These are real thrones with real authority, covering England and Italy and Asia and all the places that we think about today. There are real presidents, real prime ministers, real leaders, chieftains over territories. And God has allowed those people to be there for good and for bad. He was not able to withstand him, but he cast him down to the ground and trampled him. And there was no one that could deliver the ram from his hand. Therefore, the male goat grew very great, but when he became strong, the large horn was broken, and in its place it had 4 noble ones. They came up towards the 4 winds of heaven, and out of one of them came a little horn, which grew exceedingly great toward the south, toward the east, and toward the glorious land. Okay? This is one of Daniel's themes, using the terminology glorious land. That is physical, and that is where the temple is. That is where the sanctuary is. That is where David's throne was. That's the glorious land. Don't get that mixed up. And it grew up. This is where it gets really interesting. And it grew up, this horn, to the host of heaven. Where's that? Straight up. Straight up. The host of heaven is straight up for all humans on the surface of the earth. Because that is what is being described in this vision by Daniel, which we call the sacred, holy, pure Word of God. That's how God describes it. The host of heaven is up. And that's how this horn is going. And it gets dicey, okay? And it casts down some of those. So there's real things up here in heaven above your head and my head right now. This horn was able to go up and pull down spiritual things, demons, angels, whatever, and bring them down, authorities that are principalities, right? And bring them down. And some of the stars, so what are stars? It's telling you it's part of the host of heaven. Stars are things that we don't understand. There could be spirits. They represent spiritual things. They're not like our galaxy nonsense. That is total, complete nonsense. Stars are going to come down to earth. They're in our locality. They are in the firmament, and they are below the barrier between heaven and earth. the stars are. Because in the back end of this book, those who do righteous acts in these certain seasons of time, at this end time, they will shine like stars forever. That's what Daniel prophesies in chapter 12. So humans that do great acts on earth are going to shine like stars forever. So stars are not what you think they are. They are not galaxies. Let that be understood today, so you can move on with your life and understand all the crap that's being sold to you is crap. These hosts and these stars are being brought down to earth. They're brought down to the earth and they are trampled by this force. He even exalted himself as high as the prince of the host. So who is the prince of the host? This is a struggling point. So who is the prince of the hosts of heaven? If this is the demonic second heaven, then it's Satan. If it's the height of all heights in heaven, it's God himself. Can he pull God down? Did not they build a tower of Babel to pull God down? Was that not a prefiguring of what they were going to do at the end? Are we not tying this back to Nimrod? Why did he go up? Because that's where God is. He's straight up for all people. The prince of the host, and by him the daily sacrifice. Oh boy. Ooh, this is starting to sound like another part of Daniel, where the temple's there, right? And the Jews, in unbelief, are sacrificing animals to God, which is completely unnecessary. So this is a demonic action. But the prince of the host decides to end the animal sacrifice in the temple. That's what I would think, right? And the place of his sanctuary was cast down. Even Jesus, when he was on earth, said, I saw heaven, a flash of lightning coming down. He was talking about this moment. Jesus said it. Because of transgression, an army was given over to the horn to oppose the daily sacrifices. So it's going to be bloody when they're stopped. Blood on the animals, but now it's humans like the Maccabees fighting to get Antiochus' army out of the temple and get the pigs off the altar. Similar. Who opposed the daily sacrifices, and he cast truth down to the ground. He did all this and prospered. Then I heard a holy one speaking, and another holy one said to that certain one who was speaking, how long will the vision be concerning the daily sacrifice and the transgression of the desolation, the giving of both the sanctuary and the host to be trampled underfoot? And he said to me, for 2,300 days, then the sanctuary shall be cleansed. So this is very hard. We're gonna get an interpretation, but that may also be hard. But just to set the stage for the interpretation through Gabriel that Daniel's going to receive of this vision, the 2,300 days represents a 6 1/3 years. It's not 7 years. It's 6 1/3. So we can't tie it to anything like the 70 weeks prophecy in chapter 9 that we're going to read later, tomorrow or the next day or whenever I decide to move forward with it. So you should be mystified. I am mystified by why the number 2,300 days is used. But it's tied to being trampled underfoot, desecrated, made desolate, and then it needs to be cleansed. So there's a time of cleansing. There's a 45-day gap in, I think it's Ezekiel, when the stuff comes down. No, I think it's in Daniel. But anyway, I don't want to get into that right now. But there's a cleansing, and it's a period of time because of the desecration. So when Jesus talked about the abomination of desolation, right? Revelation talks about the abomination too. You have to realize that this is like pigs being sacrificed on the altar and not lambs, perfect lambs. So even when the Jews are doing this in unbelief, they're doing it the right way, according to the Levitical order. And in their unbelief and in their desire for Messiah to come, they restore blood sacrifice because they recognize without the blood, there's no shedding, there's no remission of sin. Right now, they don't have that in their doctrine because they said, well, the temple's destroyed, so we don't have to do it anymore. Well, the Bible's still the Bible, and it says without the shedding of blood, there's no remission of sin. That's a fact from the point of the beginning when Adam and Eve sinned, and then God had to kill an animal and clothe them with its skin. Blood was shed. And then we know that Cain killed Abel. Blood was shed. The satanic sacrifice of Abel. But the blood was shed by Abel when he offered a pleasing sacrifice to God, and he testified of that sacrifice with a heavenly sign that Cain saw and knew was righteously accepted by God. But his sacrifice was not. And obviously this is a desecration of the sacrificial work that God has set forth to Adam and Eve and their children, and to Moses. Well, even to Abraham, because he sacrificed his son on an altar, was going to shed his blood. Passover, shedding of a perfect little lamb, blood on the doorpost. So this goes back to the critical importance of blood in the remission of sin. John MacArthur. Then it happened while I, Daniel, had seen the vision and was seeking the meaning, that suddenly there stood before me one having the appearance of a man. And I heard a man's voice between the banks of the Ulai, it's a river, who called and said, Gabriel, make this man understand the vision. So he came near where I stood. And when he came, I was afraid and fell on my face. And he said to me, understand, Son of Man, that the vision refers to the time of the end. We're not there yet, guys. This is the end. As soon as we start getting into heaven coming down, host coming down, prince of the host coming down, we're talking about Satan inhabiting a human body and desecrating the temple, the sanctuary, the holy place, in the glorious land. These are the terms we know. We can confidently assert. This man that you're looking at can confidently assert that that's what these terms refer to in other passages of Scripture, because again, we're letting the Bible interpret the Bible. We're not jumping verses off the pages and make them our little verse to make our little point. We're letting the Bible do it. Now, as he was speaking with me, I was in a deep sleep with my face to the ground, but he touched me and stood me upright. And he said, look, I am making known to you what shall happen in the latter time of the indignation. So that's understood. The indignation is a period of time where Satan is given authority to desecrate God's holy place, but also to have power over the saints of the Most High we talked about yesterday. But it's for a short season of time. So this indignation is what he's referring to. For at the appointed time, the end shall be. So when the indignation comes, Jesus says in Matthew 24, look up. When this crazy signs in heaven happen, sun moves around, stars come down, realize this is it. We're done. You just got to look up, know your redemption's drawing nigh. That's what you got to do. So what is Jonathan David Keener doing? I'm reading the prophecies that are from the living God to a great prophet named Daniel that still is yet to happen, and we have work to do today up until the day of the indignation. We don't know how many days we have up until the indignation. Once the indignation happens, we're in a different season, right? This is the time to spread the gospel, to invade the schools and the college campuses, to get into the marketplace, and to take over things with grace and love and quality good and service and honesty and integrity, to be a stark contrast against the slimy lies and wickedness of the current time. Even entertainment is slimy and evil. Let's tell great stories of redemption, real stories, true stories, to inspire our people, for our children. Real stories of real heroes doing great things in our time. Let's fill up our mind and our airwaves with things that are good and holy before the time of the indignation at the latter end. The ram which you saw having the two horns, they are the kings of Media and Persia. And the male goat is the kingdom of Greece. The large horn that is between its eyes, it's the first king. That's Alexander the Great. As for the broken horn, and the four that stood up in its place are four kingdoms that shall arise out of that nation, but not with power. And in the latter time of their kingdom, when the transgressions have reached their fullness, a king shall arise, having fierce features, who understands sinister schemes. Why? Because he's Satan in the flesh. His power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. He shall destroy fearfully, and shall prosper and thrive. He shall destroy the mighty, and also the holy people. Now this is where we get into this whole idea of chosen people, holy people. If they're worshiping Satan, or if they're worshiping Baal, or they're materialists, or they're people who have satanic rituals in the hidden places, like some do in Israel, the leaders. If they're trafficking children and they're consuming human flesh, they are not the holy people. This is talking about a people that's been sanctified by fire. So, could be that the Jews and Jerusalem has been burnt and things have been done that have killed off 2/3, as Zechariah talks about, that 2/3 of the nation will die. Only 1/3 will come through. He shall destroy the mighty and also the holy people. Through his coming, he shall cause deceit to prosper under his rule. And he shall exalt himself in his heart. He shall destroy many in their prosperity. So the Antichrist is not Donald Trump, who wants people to prosper. So you can get that idea out of your mind. The Antichrist is not Vladimir Putin. The Antichrist is not Joe Altman, OpenAI. Do people in high-ranking office, like Hitler and Stalin and Mao and these people that killed millions of people, do they have not a spirit of Antichrist? Yes. Popes killed people in the past. Wicked, evil. So you have the spirit, as First John tells us, the spirit of Antichrist is already here. And there are people who operate in that spirit. The abortion work that was done in America by Margaret Sanger, that's an Antichrist spirit. The whole thing that's running the Progressive Party with transgenderism, Antichrist spirit. Gay marriage, Antichrist spirit. Taking George Floyd and putting him on a pedestal, Antichrist spirit. Pride flag, Antichrist spirit. All of this stuff, the spinning ball globe, Antichrist Antichrist spirit. It's Jesuits pulling God down. Nimrod, the spirit of what he was doing lives on today. And finally, this satanically infused person, not righteously, opposite of what we get. We get the righteousness of God infused into our soul. We are sealed then for the day of redemption, which is what we're looking forward to, the day of redemption. This entity is now going to be so proud, so powerful, that he's going to destroy everything that's not him, that could be considered quality. Like you look at Donald Trump, he honors the leaders of the world. This guy's not going to honor anybody. If there's a nation prospering, he's going to take their stuff. That's the type of person we're talking about here. He shall destroy many in their prosperity. He shall even rise against the prince of princes. But he shall be broken without human means. So he's going to go against Christ himself. This could represent the time when he walks into the Holy of Holies and wants the whole world to worship him, because he's saying he's God. And the vision of the evening and the mornings, which was told, is true. Therefore, seal up the vision, for it refers to many days in the future. And I, Daniel, feared and was sick for days. Afterward I rose and went about the king's business. I was astonished by the vision, but no one understood it. So I can honestly say, there's elements to this I don't understand. I just read it. I just said, God, I'm going to read it. What I understand, I will exemplify or lift up and bring attention to as far as terms. It's obviously not happened yet, this vision, the final part. The host coming down, the sanctuary being built, and the sanctuary being defiled. The time of the indignation, the 2,300 years has not happened yet. May God bless these words.